Subscribe to Movie Recap Chime channel now.
The movie begins in Italy, where a woman walks through a courtyard filled with the lifeless bodies of mafia members following a fierce shootout. A woman named Bianca kisses her boss Don Balbon's temple, declaring a war between mafia families. Shortly after, she places a call to a middle-aged mom named Kristen Bolano. However, Kristen is immersed in tearful preparations for her son Nicky's departure to college and rejects the call. Kristen is a typical suburban mother who is married to Paul, a band member. Despite her seemingly ordinary life, Kristen faces challenges at her pharmaceutical marketing job, where male coworkers consistently undermine her efforts with misogynistic remarks. One day, after returning from work, Kristen finally answers Bianca's call. She declines her invitation to be flown to Rome for her grandfather Don Balbon's funeral, citing her responsibilities at work and her commitment to her husband Paul. When she heads to the basement to ask Paul to lower the music, she stumbles upon him entangled in an affair with their son's guidance counselor. After being devastated by the betrayal, Kristen attends a self-defense class with her best friend Jenny, who is an international lawyer. Kristen shares her decision to divorce Paul and the tempting offer from Bianca. Jenny urges Kristen to prioritize herself for once and convinces her to accept the invitation to Italy. With initial hesitation, Kristen finally agrees, since Italy is also her dream travel destination, and she wants to enjoy handsome Italian men while putting the woe of her failed marriage behind her. Upon arriving in Rome, Kristen encounters a charming Italian man named Lorenzo. Their brief encounter is cut short by Lorenzo's aunt Esmeralda urging him to hurry. Kristen and Lorenzo exchange numbers with the promise of a later message from him. Soon after, two men named Dante and Aldo arrive to pick up Kristen. Unbeknownst to her, they are mafia bodyguards. In their rush to attend Don Balbon's funeral, the bodyguards speed past Rome's renowned tourist attractions. Kristen, preoccupied with changing into her funeral attire, misses most of the sights along the way. They eventually reach a church in a town near Rome just in time for Don Balbon's funeral. Kristen finally comes face to face with Bianca, who introduces her to Don Balbon's grandnephew, Fabio Bolano. The funeral is followed by Don Balbon's coffin being paraded through the streets of the small town. When asked by Kristen, Bianca tells her that Don Bolano was a winemaker. Suddenly, chaos erupts as gunfire breaks out around the coffin and the people carrying it. A shootout ensues between the Bolano family members and their rivals, the Romano family. Dante, one of Kristen's escorts, skillfully causes the two Romano bikers to crash. The Romano hitmen, relentless in their pursuit, now chase the Bolanos on foot. Kristen struggles but remains with the family as they safely return to the car and drive away. Arriving at the Bolano mansion, Kristen demands an explanation of the situation. Bianca informs her that her grandfather was killed by the Romano family during a meeting between the two families, where Don Romano was also murdered. Bianca shows Kristen a video from her grandfather, who reveals that the Romanos were responsible for her father's untimely death before her mother brought her to America. In a surprising twist, Grandpa Balbon lays out his dying wish. Kristen's got to step up as the new head of the Bolano family, with Bianca as her right hand. This doesn't sit well with Fabio, who's gunning to be the big boss himself. Kristen, however, just wants to get back to her regular life at home. After enjoying her dream vacation in Italy, she receives a call from Lorenzo. But Dante breaks her phone, reminding her that as the boss, she shouldn't be talking to strangers. Kristen is determined to leave the Bolano house, but Bianca intervenes, highlighting that she is in a foreign land without a working phone and is currently at risk of being targeted by the Romano family. To find a middle ground, Bianca suggests easing the tension by taking Kristen wine stomping as a gesture of trust. She provides Kristen with a new secure phone for contacting Lorenzo. However, there's a catch. Kristen must agree to attend a meeting with the new Don of the Romano family. Bianca hopes Kristen can extend an olive branch by proposing a territory deal to the Romano Don, aiming to restore peace between the feuding families. Kristen reluctantly agrees and undergoes a wardrobe makeover, courtesy of Bianca. Now sporting the look befitting a Donna of a mafia family and escorted by Dante and Aldo, Kristen arrives at a restaurant where the meeting will be held. She kindly greets the female server before being seated in front of the new Don Romano, named Carlo. Carlo, a striking and charming figure, immediately captures Kristen's attention. Despite Kristen offering a part of Bolano land, Kristen doesn't seem too excited. As the drinks flow, she becomes quite intoxicated. Carlo seizes the opportunity to charm her further, and the meeting takes a romantic turn. In a somewhat hazy state, Kristen agrees to join Carlo for more drinks in his hotel room, with the implication that things might get intimate. The two head to Carlo's room, accompanied by their respective bodyguards. Each Don is checked for concealed weapons, and once cleared, the bodyguards are instructed to wait outside the bedroom door as the couple gets busy. Just before things get too intimate, Kristen makes a quick excuse to head to the bathroom. Seizing the opportunity, Carlo reveals a vial of poison he had concealed and discreetly pours it into Kristen's drink. Kristen eventually returns, downs the poisoned drink, and resumes her interaction with Carlo, who cruelly hints that she will die soon due to the poison. However, it turns out that Carlo is the one who's dying, because Kristen had switched their drinks. While he calls for his bodyguards, she starts to panic because she didn't intend to kill Carlo, but he dies anyway. A skirmish breaks out between the bodyguards, but Aldo and Dante emerge victorious. After the incident, Kristen is allowed to freshen up while Dante and Aldo handle the disposal of the dead bodies. Lorenzo and Bianca arrive shortly afterward. As a warning, they send Carlo's hand back to the Romano family, a message received by Carlo's cousin, Mammon, who becomes the new Don Romano. Holding the title of the new Don, Mammon orders a hitman named Bruno to take care of the new Donna Bolano. Meanwhile, tensions flare at the Bolano family villa as Fabrizio clashes with Bianca over escalating the conflict with the Romanos. Fabrizio's hot temper flares, and he expresses frustration over Kristen's perceived lack of understanding of the mafia mentality. Still unaware of the Bolano family's illegal activities, Kristen receives an unexpected crash course on all the illicit businesses they run. Kristen innocently questions the lack of any legal business they do, aside from the winery front that produces very bad quality wine. Hearing this, Fabrizio storms out of the room in anger. Feeling the strain, Kristen decides it's time to visit Lorenzo. She arrives at Lorenzo's house with her two bodyguards, who are posing as her cousins. Lorenzo seems quite excited, with his aunt Esmeralda also joining the family date. He takes the opportunity to showcase his newly developed pasta line, and they all savor it together for dinner. As the night progresses, the atmosphere between Kristen and Lorenzo becomes more intimate, hinting at a potential kiss. Their intimate moment is abruptly interrupted by a work alarm on Kristen's phone, reminding her of an impending Zoom meeting. She quickly leaves and returns home with her bodyguards. Upon arrival, Aldo informs her that his mother is facing difficulties as her medication has run out and they have no money to buy more. Kristen instructs the two bodyguards to shift their attention to taking care of Aldo's mother for the night instead of guarding her, unaware of Bruno's lurking presence in the villa. Kristen enters and starts preparing for her Zoom meeting. Bruno, armed with a silenced gun and a laser guide, sneaks around behind her. During the meeting, Kristen's boss and co-workers mute her presentation, implying their disinterest in her opinions. Little do they know, Kristen is in a dangerous situation as Bruno launches his attack. Instead of shooting her and leaving, Bruno seems to be attracted to the new Donna. He drags her to the couch, intending to assault her. Reacting swiftly, Kristen uses the defense technique she learned in self-defense class. She grabs her high heels and fights back, ultimately stabbing Bruno in the eye until he dies. After the harrowing encounter, Kristen returns to her Zoom meeting, but her co-workers, noting her shaken demeanor, mistakenly assume she's drunk. Seizing the opportunity, her boss decides to fire her. Unfazed by the situation, Kristen cleans herself up and makes a decision to return to Lorenzo's place, finally getting laid after 3 long days. The next day, Dante and Aldo locate Kristen and bring her back home, commending her for her impressive self-defense the previous night. Bianca briefs her about the upcoming meeting with the Romanos. Kristen then meets with Mammon and his men, who are notably impressed by her ability to eliminate both their boss and their top hitman. The Romanos agree to accept the Bolano family's initial territory offer, and a truce is re-established between the two families. Kristen gains the respect of all the men present at the meeting. Later, Kristen finds herself alone in the Bolano garden when Fabrizio approaches her. He expresses his admiration for her fierceness, attributing it to the Bolano blood running through her veins. As a gesture of acceptance, Fabrizio presents her with one of the family rings, officially welcoming Kristen as one of their own. Following the unusual encounter with Fabrizio, Bianca approaches Kristen. She knows Kristen is a genuinely kind woman, which is why she's hesitant about Kristen becoming Donna Bulbino. However, she opens up about her own past, how her grandfather's kindness gave her a state-of-the-art prosthetic leg to protect her from bullying during her youth. Convinced of Kristen's potential for kindness and moral integrity, Bianca believes she can be a mafia Donna like no other. Inspired by their conversation, Kristen comes up with a new business opportunity. She decides to venture into smuggling and selling American drugs to less fortunate families. As she gradually establishes this new business, Kristen also dedicates herself to improving the quality of Bolano's winery. Balancing both enterprises, she aims to bring a unique blend of compassion and innovation to her role as Donna Bulbino. Life as a Donna in Italy seems to be growing on Kristen, and she finds genuine enjoyment in her work. Her romantic relationship with Lorenzo flourishes, and the couple appears to be deeply in love. One day, while strolling by a canal, Lorenzo hints that Kristen remains somewhat secretive despite how long they've been together, unwilling to expose her family's mafia connections. Suddenly, Aldo and Dante restrain a man who's about to bother them. It turns out to be Paul. He had come looking for Kristen, surprising her with his sudden appearance. Learning that Kristen is still technically married, Lorenzo storms away in disappointment. Kristen arrives home to confront her deadbeat husband in front of the other Bolano family members. It becomes clear that Paul only sought her out after running out of money. Kristen's initially gentle approach prompts the others to encourage her to take a stand and stop caring about this disrespectful man. She finally orders Paul to be escorted back to the airport to find his way home without her help. With the success of the medicine smuggling and winery business, Kristen confides in Bianca about her desire to exit mafia life and pursue a normal future with Lorenzo. Bianca acknowledges Kristen's choice, expressing hope that it's truly what Kristen wants for herself, not just a way of appeasing another man in her life. Feeling confident in her decision, Kristen decides to announce her retirement formally during the upcoming scheduled meeting between the mafia families. Kristen and Fabrizio join the Romanos and the others for what will be her final meeting. The Romanos raise concerns about Kristen's control over port inspectors and her medical business, demanding a share of her operation. To everyone's surprise, Kristen stuns the room by announcing her resignation and appointing Bianca as her successor. This unexpected move upsets Fabrizio, who had anticipated being named the new Don Bolano. The Romanos grow suspicious of Kristen's actions, leading to a tense standoff. Suddenly, their meeting is ambushed by a team of police officers, including Lorenzo and Esmeralda, who turn out to have been undercover cops all along. An intense shootout erupts, and Lorenzo takes cover with Kristen. Kristen is shocked, believing their relationship was a lie from the start. Lorenzo doesn't deny it, which only adds to her distress. The shootout ultimately ends with the police emerging victorious. Kristen, upset with Lorenzo, sometime later, Kristen finds herself at her trial, represented by a seemingly inexperienced state-appointed advocate. To her surprise, Jenny appears to support her best friend and assist in winning the case. Kristen faces accusations of involvement in the mafia, but her strong reputation for kindness and positive contributions to the community ultimately sways the judge to dismiss the charges against her. And at the courtroom door, Lorenzo approaches her. He confesses that he developed real feelings for her during their fabricated relationship, but Kristen, no longer the desperate romantic she once was, bids farewell to Lorenzo and walks away from the courtroom, leaving their connection behind. Upon returning home, Kristen is devastated to find Dante wounded from a gunshot. A text from Bianca reveals that she's also been shot, prompting Kristen to rush to the winery to help her. Dante hands her a gun, just in case, and Kristen hurries to the winery only to discover Fabrizio holding Paul and Nikki hostage. Fabrizio confesses to killing Bianca in his bid to become the new Don Bolano. As Fabrizio aims his gun at Kristen's son, she springs into action, engaging in a fight and managing to kick Fabrizio in the groin. Bianca suddenly arrives and shocks everyone by revealing that she survived because Fabrizio had shot her prosthetic leg. In a desperate attempt to escape, Fabrizio fires at them and manages to flee. Kristen instructs Bianca to keep Nikki safe. Kristen then desperately searches for Fabrizio, eventually finding him on a platform above the winery machines. He threatens her with a gun. She turns a knob, releasing scalding steam that forces Fabrizio to charge toward her. As the rusty railing breaks, Fabrizio nearly falls into a grape grinder. Kristen grabs his hand, but after a moment of consideration, she decides to let him fall to his death. Kristen panics at first, as usual, but eventually regains her composure and walks away. Kristen decides to remain in Italy and take over the family business. In jail, Mammon and his friends receive a gift from Kristen, a threatening note and a wine bottle containing Fabrizio's finger. As Nikki and Paul prepare to return to America, Nikki notices people arriving to honor his mother by kissing her ring. Kristen's newfound power doesn't change her role as a caring and doting mother. She even prepares a trail mix for her son's journey home. It's Kristen's ability to seamlessly balance her responsibilities as a mafia donna with her enduring role as a devoted mother.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an exciting story. More thrilling recaps are on the way, and you won't want to miss them. Drop a comment below and let me know your favorite moment from this story. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one. Movie Recap Time Team.
Subscribe to Movie Recap Chime channel now.